Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for another edition of Reporter's Notebook. For those of you who've never watched Reporter's Notebook before, it's a really fun segment we get to do sort of towards the end of our work days where us digital reporters get to drag in some of our coworkers in here to the digital studio and chit-chat about what it's like to work in a newsroom and dive a little deeper into those stories that we get to cover for you guys each and every day. So today I am joined through Zoom by Miss Cheyenne Pagan. Hello.
Hi, Emily. Hi, everyone watching at home.
So where are you joining us from today? Because you are not normally in Greenville, so where are you normally working from?
I am in Jacksonville at our bureau studio. You can see the studio right there behind
Oh,
me.
yeah.
Sad and empty. I'm the only one in the office. That's usually how it goes. You can ask like anyone else who works over here. It's usually pretty empty, but I kind of like it.
Right. And you're close to the beach, so, win-win.
Yeah, you really can't go wrong. Like I'm like a 30-minute drive from Surf City, so that's
Oh,
that's pretty awesome.
lucky. Well, speaking of the beach, we have a segment here at WNCT called the Coastal Report. And Cheyenne, you've recently taken over the reins of this coastal report, excuse me. So talk to us about what that is for somebody who's never seen it or never heard of it. What is our coastal report all about?
So the Coastal Report is a segment where we go around and we highlight different stories and businesses that we basically have here along the Crystal Coast. So I go out every single week and I visit a different location. Like this week I was in Big Rock, like I was at Big Rock Landing, and I said, hey, I'm here at Big Rock Landing ahead of the Big Rock tournament, which is off today, and it's going to be going through the rest of the week. And so I'll introduce myself and say, like, this is where I'm at, highlighting the area. And then I will go into talking about different things that have happened in the past week along the coast. So this week we have obviously Big Rock kicking off. And then I also talked about and Caution, I'm sorry. He was found alive. Obviously, as we know, it's been all over the news, but I talked about that because it did happen over by Morehead City in the Croats National Forest. And then I also talked about the story that I actually worked on today about the oyster deployment of over 14,000 pounds of oysters. So that was also in my coastal report. But, you have to watch the whole thing. It's going to be on our website. And I'm really super proud of it. I'm happy that Kayla gave me the reins to do it. She was our former digital reporter, now broadcast reporter. I'm very happy about being able to do it. It's a very fun little segment. I mean, sometimes the news can be a little hard, but most of the time it's pretty lighthearted. And we're just trying to highlight the Crystal Coast, really hone that in and talk about all the stuff that goes on over here.
Definitely. And I love that. And again, I got to say, I'm a little jealous because you get to be so close to the beach. And of course, the Coastal Report is all about those beach towns and what is going on. And you also mentioned another story that you got to cover today, which was also down at the beach, all about oyster deployment. So let's talk about that. What is oyster deployment, first of all?
So I use the word deployment because that's the word they use, but they really just took all these oysters and just poured them out into this area, this designated area. And this was purely because oysters, fun fact, and I say this in my report, one oyster can filter 50 gallons of water, which I had no idea that they were so impactful. I was telling the people that I was talking to yesterday, it's kind of like they're the bees of the ocean. Bees are so small, but they have such a huge impact on our ecosystem. So, but that's the same thing with oysters. They're so small, but they have such a huge impact on bodies of water. So with this story today and yesterday, I got to learn more about it. And they took all these oysters and they just fed them into the water. And after a year of them being down there, they'll be able to harvest them. So it'll impact our local economy in a very fantastic way because oystermen will be able to go and harvest them and they'll be able to be sold and give the whole process, and the money will come back to the economy in the long run. So it was a really interesting story, and it was really fun going out on the boat. I mean, it did start raining, so that wasn't very great, but I really enjoyed being able to go out there and tell this story today.
Definitely. And you said this is part of a restoration project. So are they trying to clear out the waterways, and this is how, they're using the oysters to do that?
So not really so much it is a restoration project, but it's more so filtering the water. That's their main goal. And they have these reefs that they build, and in my report, you can like understand a little bit more about it because like the scientists that I talked to, they kind of like go more in detail about it. But the reef, they build the reefs, and the oysters are like a part of that, if that makes sense, like the shell. So they're kind of restoring the reefs that were already there, and then the oysters are kind of filtering the water, and then in the long run, they'll be able to harvest the oysters when they mature more. Right now, the oysters are like this big, very small, but they will eventually become market size, and then that's when they'll be harvested.
That is awesome. And when I was reading your story about what you're going to cover today, I was getting a little hungry. I was like, man, oysters.
Yeah, I you know, it's crazy like seeing them in such a small form, and then seeing them like, you know, like at restaurants, I'm like, it's completely different. Like when they're like that small, like they're literally so tiny, and you can see like some of the video that I got, like of how little they are, and it turns into like this big thing, and it's so interesting.
That's amazing. Well, I want to thank you, Cheyenne, for jumping on this Reporter's Notebook with us and talking about the awesome stories you got to cover today. And again, if people want to learn more about the Coastal Report and what you covered today on that Coastal Report, and more about this oyster restoration, where can they go, Cheyenne, to check that out?
Under our features tab, under our online originals page, and we also have a separate page dedicated just to the Coastal Report.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for joining us, and thank you guys for joining us for another edition of Reporter's Notebook. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.